genetic mutation is. Like, how does that actually happen inside your body, okay? Our other goal will be to use what we know about genetic mutations to create a scenario about genetic mutations, okay? So the first thing I want to clarify about genetic mutations is that they happen in your genes, and your genes are like the very first thing, the very first piece of information that happens. Genes are the very first thing that happens, like when your body is made, right? We have sperm and egg. All that's really there is your DNA, your genetic code, okay? And your genes are like decided. So that sperm and egg come down, boom, information taken. And I want to talk to you a little bit first about how those genes get into those cells before we actually like start talking about genetic mutations, because there's a lot of questions in my other classes today about that. So I just want to make sure we're all. First 4 questions on your sheet. The first one is going to ask for a definition. What is a genetic mutation? Which is one of our goals today, is just to know what it is, what's happening. And then questions 2, 3, and 4 are some different types. So there's something called an insertion mutation. There's a deletion mutation. And then there's also a substitution mutation. So we're going to be looking for those answers first. Okay, trying to figure those out. After that, we're going to do some research about some of these different types of mutations. We learned about one already, sickle cell anemia. Remember that one? Your blood, red blood cells don't quite get made the right shape. It messes everything up. So we'll look at, there are actually some genetic mutations that are helpful, that are like a good thing. There are some that are harmful, and then there are some that are just like neutral. They don't really do anything. And then if you flip your paper over on the back, this is where we're going to start about realistic scenarios, okay? Backed by our ideas that we've learned in here. So the first question says, thinking about mutations that you've learned about, what do you think could happen in the future? And it could be like 100 years in the future, thousands of years in the future, millions of years in the future. What kinds of genetic mutations do you think might start happening? And give some reasoning for why. It needs to be like based on science, not just like, I think we're all going to be able to fly. Okay, well, why? Why do you think that's a reasonable genetic mutation that can happen, okay? And then your last assignment today will be on the back, will be to create a superhero that has a genetic mutation, but it has to be realistic. So my example, if you read it there, is slightly taller man. His genes make him slightly taller. He's like 6'5". He's slightly taller. And his abilities include, he can get things off of high shelves at the grocery store. He can rescue kittens from trees. Slightly taller. Okay? So in the boxes, you will draw out what is the genetic mutation that your superhero has, how did it happen, and then what can they do with their amazing abilities. Slightly taller. Okay? So again, our goal is to know what a genetic mutation is, and then use that information to make some predictions about what could happen in the future, or even what a superhero might be capable of, if it was science fact instead of science fiction. Okay? All right, are you ready for questions 1 through 4?
Did you find one yet?
No, I've been looking for credible sources. The
That's
other
great.
ones are trying to make me pay.
How do they?
I don't want to pay.
So do they have a search bar on their website where you could search?
I don't think so. But this seems pretty targeted about
Okay.
genetic mutations.
Yeah, you just want to get a little bit more specific and type. Or you could also read about them and infer which kind they would be too, based on the symptoms.
I searched genetic mutations in humans.
Mhm. Did you find some?
I'm looking at the list of sites right now.
I see a new one on there. Do you see a new one that we haven't talked about yet? Because it says, did you notice here it says you can't talk about sickle cell anemia, right? But there's another one listed there.
That. I don't know how to say that.
Take a stab at it.
Cystic
You got it?
fibrosis.
You said it exactly right. You knew something you didn't even know you knew. So what could your next step be now?
Look at the harmful mutation.
Or is it harmful? Do we know?
Yeah.
Google is telling you. Okay, so what would you be looking for to find out if it truly is harmful?
Negative effects on an organism's health and survival.
Yeah, I'll accept that answer.
Could I work for like?
Yeah, you can just write it next to the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I trust you.
So you're asking what is a harmful mutation, but what are you actually looking for? Do you want the definition?
Oh, I know how it affects you.
Sure.
I see it like it's
Math, not DNA.
Never mind.
Well, and so our DNA is shown to us, it's like represented by letters for the different acids. So there are a lot of like letters and then also numbers, which is why math is science and science is math. It's all the same thing. What have you guys got so far? I just want to see what you're searching. So once you find a name of a mutation, then you might be able to search it by name to find a little bit more about it. Well, you're looking for why it's harmful, right?
Not it affects
And maybe think about what would attacking your tissues and muscles look like.
Right? Isn't it like
Similar to the cows, right?
No, I don't want to see.
You could also find more about that same syndrome on a different website too.
What do I do now that I'm in 1 to 7?
Okay, so I would check, see where it says steps 5 through 7. You can sit behind my desk and charge there. Can I see the front of your paper? I see reasons why. I want an example. Like, what is a disease that is making it hard to breathe or live?
Yep.
Other than sickle cell anemia. So we already learned about that one. I want you to find a new one. What do we see here?
Explain what the mutation is and how it affects a living organism with the mutation. Oh, I got to explain the mutation.
You know what to do. Okay, so I would reread these directions here, LG. What is it asking you to record?
Research one of the common types of mutations. They explain what the mutation is and how it affects the living organism with the mutation.
And you'll have to record it here because I won't be able to ask you later when I'm grading it, right? Unless you're going to leave your brain here today.
I'm gonna write it down.
Yes, love that.
But until I was really interrupted by Henry over here, I was gonna say
Poor Henry.
that positive DNA change that had affects your body to be able to have different things that can make you better than what you were going to be.
Well, I want something really specific. I want to know about one specific disease and how that specific disease alters your DNA and like what the effects are, then what happens to your body. And then you have to decide, is it harmful, helpful, or neutral? Because not all of them are going to be negative.
Search stuff on this.
Great. So where will you go next? So now can you find a specific helpful mutation? Instead of like a general definition, we want to find like an example of a specific one.
Okay.
What'd you find, Henry?
So I need paper.
Yeah.
And then what's the Google form?
It is about the dissections. It's about what's your comfort level with dissecting. Yeah, I think you filled it out.
There's another one.
Oh, yeah, that's a feedback form. It's worth 1,000 points.
Okay.
But you weren't here yesterday. You are here today. So I'm trying to give everybody feedback about how they're doing and figuring out how genetic mutations work and how they can like affect people. So I could give you feedback today while you're working, and then you could fill out the form. Okay. Do you know where all the things are that you need? Okay. Over there.
You're not like tall.
Okay, so you think people might get shorter?
Yeah.
Okay. Why would they get shorter? Like, what type of genetic mutation is going to make people shorter?
I don't know.
What are the different types? What did we learn yesterday?
There's a deletion thingy,
Okay.
and it's still deletion because
Okay.
like, that thing deleted. Like,
What thing?
the tallness.
The tallness? Okay. And then think about like, because for cows, the gene is telling the protein how to make the muscles, right? So if you're getting shorter, what do you think the gene is telling the protein to make differently?
Like maybe like the other parents got it like and they like took over.
Mm-hmm. Took over how? Like, what's happening in your body that would make you shorter? Because proteins are telling the cells to make something, right? So what are we going to
Like,
be
they're not
making?
making it like as frequent or like as fast.
Okay. Less of? But what would be the thing what makes you tall or short?
I don't know, like your parents.
But think about like your actual body. What makes someone taller or shorter? Okay. So that maybe the genes that are telling the proteins to make your legs a certain way are, what are they telling it to do differently?
They're telling us to like make smaller
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like working as well.
Yeah. I agree with you. So you don't even need this.
But it's pretty helpful.
I would rather hear what you have to say, even if your sentences are a little bit less than what ChatGPT might produce. And then I can grade you instead of.
But like we could do like a duo and both be graded the same amount.
ChatGPT is not even on my roster. They're not even in my class. I don't really care about what they know.
It could be like a new arrival. If your class only.
I don't think I want to grade AI. I'd be like, nah,
But then
good.
you could just ask ChatGPT to grade it for you.
It's not good at that. I've tried.
I saved you. No, don't go back.
All right. See if you can, Gabe, see if you can summarize what we just talked about on here. And if you want to move away from Parker so you can focus,
Well,
you
Parker
can.
I was helping you. He just helped me.
Great.
I closed that.
Hi. So far.
Genetic mutation is change in the sequence of your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And then insertion of you is adding to like a genetic.
Okay, or like adding a gene.
Deletion is a mutation or something is missing.
Mm-hmm.
Substitution of
Yeah, so we talked about how like if you had a recipe for chocolate chip cookies and you switched it out for butterscotch, you're still going to get cookies. They're just going to be different. So it's just switching it with something different. So then let's skip to the back. What is a mutation that you think could happen in the future?
I really hope you grow
An extra limb. Okay. So if you're having an extra limb, what kind of mutation do you think it would be? We don't know because it doesn't exist, but like what type? Okay, insertion because.
You already have it. It's not replaced.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Okay, so then can you write that up here and explain what it is and why it's logical? What do you have for your mutation?
I said that I think there could be skin colorations, like maybe more green or yellow,
Ooh.
because I think the air is gonna like since we're already putting a lot of fumes and like toxins into the air, I think that it could probably change like different body parts, like our skin tones or like eye colors.
So an environmental factor might affect the genes that we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So then usually a gene change responds to an environment because it helps it, like it's helpful to be green or yellow.
Yeah.
So you might help explain here, like why would that be a helpful thing for human beings to have in response to the pollution?
Maybe it could help like it deflect the light more if the sun gets too bright.
Ah, so we don't have like problems with
Yeah.
our skin burning. Okay. I like it. Go for it. How's this going so far?